Hello and welcome to the David Wilson Out and About YouTube channel. Well, today I'm doing a video on a new product I've just received. It turned up yesterday. I've got it out of the box, had a good look and read the instruction manual. So I thought I would actually give you my opinion, on my first impressions opinion on this product. Just a tiny bit of background. I've been out kayaking an awful lot recently, but unfortunately I've got two very sore knees. It's looking like I've got osteoarthritis at least in one. So while I've been out sort of doing 6, 7, 10 milers, I have been struggling on the way back, and at times, you know, my knee's been locking out and I've been in quite a considerable amount of pain. So what I thought I would do was look into buying an e-fin. You know, you got your e-bikes and now you've got electric fins for kayaks and supboards. So yeah, I mean, I've been looking for quite a while because I have had issues with my back prior to this. So, but I sort of put it on hold because things were going quite well. But anyway, I've finally taken the plunge, and here it is. This is from a Chinese company. I'm going to try and pronounce the name. I apologise to the company if I mispronounce it. I tried to look it up to see if I get pronunciation, but just couldn't find it. It's Hiqmar. I will put that up on the screen. So what we'll do, we'll start off with the main box, the fin box with all the and that contents, and then we'll work onto the battery. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through, like I said, the contents of the boxes, dimensions, weights. I'm hoping to get out and test it. It'll probably be about a week because of work and hospital appointments, but hopefully I'll be able to get out next week and start a series of tests on it. So anyway, let's get this box open and see what's inside. Right, it does come with an instruction manual in English. I mean, it's actually not a bad translation. There's a few grey areas which I'll probably talk about later. But basically, I've had a quick read through, and it's not rocket science. It was just to make sure more about the remote control and whether the battery could be swapped out in that. I'll get onto that later. So I'll just put them to the side. So you've got this quite large polyurethane foam box. You know, the tough type. I don't know the exact name of it. All you've got to hold it closed is this little Velcro tab, but it's absolutely perfectly functional. I mean, you're not going to be carrying this on a kayak or a sup. It is quite large. So the box itself, the dimensions, as I said, you won't be having it on the kayak. Excuse me, I've got a cheat sheet, and I do like to use my cheat sheet. The box diameter in length, it's 43 centimetres, which is 17 inches in the old money. The depth is 44.5 centimetres, which is 17.5 inches, and the height is 13.5 centimetres, which is 5.5 centimetres. The total weight with everything in it is 2 kilograms, but as I said, it's still, you know, fairly light. And as I said, you've got this Velcro strap holding it shut. I'll just discard that for the moment. But look, you know, I'm leaning out and it's fairly light. Right, so just lift the lid up, and what I'll do, I'll bring you in closer so you can have a good look as I take the components out. Well, here we are, the lid up, and there you can see just generally all the contents. One of the concerns I had with this, and I'll probably bring this up again later, was the fin, because I was worried that it may not come with the slide-in box fin adapter. But it has. So if I start from that side, in this section here, you have 2 adapters for the fin. So you can put it on and put it into your skeg box. This is, well, I call it the American one. It's the one that's generally used in the States. It's the slot in and screw up type. None of my craft have that. What I've done, I've already attached the other one. So this other one would be in that side tray. And all it does, it just pushes in. It only goes in one way round because there's an oval piece there, and then you just got 2 bolts and nuts. They do supply a little Allen key, which I believe is in that corner as well. So what I've done, I've left that on. Now, I don't think they're intending you to leave it on. You're supposed to take it off. So what I've had to do is brutalise the case slightly, because once that was on, the fin didn't sit back in the box. So it's not pretty, but this stuff is very, very difficult to cut. We'll go on to the fin a bit later. So now it sits nicely in the box. Here's your cable. I'm going to talk more about the fin later, so we'll leave that for the moment. So yes, there is the main fin and the lead positioned in here. You have a spare propeller up there. As I said, you've got the Allen key, and then you've got the battery charger. This is the connector to the battery box, which I'll show you a bit later. And this end, you've got this lead to plug into there. You've got the 2-pin plug on that end for 110, and I just see it somewhere. And they've also thought of us in the UK, and they've sent an adapter, so obviously I can plug it in there. So it's a 110 or 240 volt charger, so it can use either. So basically that's your charger out of the way, and that is all that you've got in the box. So as I said, it's not a beautiful box, but it's very, very functional, and it will protect the fin when you're transporting. You know, I mean, you probably won't even need the battery box necessarily in there if you're just going out for the day, and it'll be like getting lighter and lighter. If it's in your car or your vehicle, it doesn't matter what you take, really, does it? So you can take the whole lot. But as I said, that's the gubbins of the box. And what I'll do, I'll now go on about the fin before I go on to the battery. Here is the fin out of the box, and what I've done, I've just weighed it. Now what I've done, I've weighed it with the skeg adapter, the skeg box adapter that I will be using. So, I mean, obviously that's fair enough, because that will be sliding in. Before I say anything, I did say that the lead or the cable tends to be quite short, but when I stretched it out and not overstretched it, it is actually 120 centimeters, so about 4 feet long. So it's not too bad. Remember, this is mainly intended for stand-up paddle boards, although it is obviously advertised for kayaks as well. It will make it interesting to see where I have to position the battery to actually, because of the lead, but that'll be in the next video, which I'll probably do next week. So anyway, here is the fin. Now, the weight, I've just written this down because I've only just finished weighing it. The weight is 737 grams. So basically it's just on 0.75, 3/4 of a kilogram. It's not too heavy. I was actually quite impressed with that. I expected this to be heavier than that. It is reasonably lightweight, because one of the issues with this is that I'm worried about is not just weight, it's the mass of it. Obviously, if it's quite heavy and bulky and awkward, when you're not using it, you're going to get a lot more drag on the bottom of the kayak, because this is replacing your main fin or your main skeg. But I'm actually quite impressed with that. It's 10 inches high, so 10 inches is 25 centimeters, 10 inches high. I tend to use smaller skegs, but the one on my full drop stitch kayak, my Blue Wave glider, is actually a 9-inch skeg, so this is 10 inches. Obviously, you can see if I turn it side on, this is where you're going to get a bit of drag, but I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'll be testing it out. I'll be taking a skeg along as well, so I should be able to feel the drag. But yeah, it's quite a neat little unit. You've got your waterproof plug, which I'll show you a bit more later, which screws into the battery box. And obviously, there's your propeller. Not a lot more I can say about that at the moment, but so yeah, we'll carry on. Right, before we move on to the battery, the fin power is 160 watts, and this is the manufacturer's stats, so obviously a lot of this will be tested out on the water. The maximum thrust, 18 pounds. They are saying that the maximum speed is 7.5 kilometres, which I believe is round about 4.6 miles per hour, but there's several speeds. So what you've got, when I'll go more into more detail later when I get the remote control, but you've got reverse, drive, which I believe should be their stats, 3 mile an hour. Then you've got sport, which is 5 mile an hour, and then off. So there's only 4 buttons on that, but that'll be explained a bit later. So, but yeah, that's really to be tested. So yes, it's got reverse and all that, but that's to do with the battery. So obviously, speed-wise, that depends on the craft, the weight of the craft, well, the shape of the craft, the weight you're carrying, the weight of you, and the weather conditions. So there's a lot in that, and I do hope that when I first get out, the first time out, I get mill pond conditions so that I can test it in its best conditions. And obviously later on, when I'm out and it's a bit rougher, I'll update you all, basically. So, right, now, onto the battery. Well, here we have it, the battery. This is a lithium battery. It's unsinkable and waterproof. That's what the the manufacturers say. Okay, so we have got a top compartment. I'll show you that first. So it's actually open at the moment. So if I click that open, it's a bit stiff at the moment. Pull it up because it's waterproof. And in here at the moment is housed the kill switch leash, expandable leash with a magnet, which I'll explain more about in a minute, and the remote control, which can be put on your wrist or on your tripod or whatever. And as I said with the remote control, you only have 3 settings. If you press reverse, it will go into reverse. Drive, which the manufacturers state is roughly 3 miles an hour, and sport, which is 5 miles an hour. So there is only 2 speeds forward. I don't know what the speed is in reverse, and stop. So it's quite basic. I would have liked more variations of speed, like a troll in, say, maybe 2 miles an hour or 1.5 miles an hour. It's just not there, so I'm just explaining this model. So, but we'll go into that in a bit more detail in a minute, so I'll put that down there. It's not a con, but one of the things that I would have liked was just a piece of non-slip material, really thin in the base there, just to stop things sliding around and rattling. I know when you're out using it, obviously these things will be out of the box anyway, so there probably won't be nothing in there. But just for transportation, and obviously I will get something and put it in there just to stop things sliding around. So if I shut that down, clip that shut. As I said, the manufacturer said it's fully waterproof and unsinkable. It's surprisingly, I thought it would have been heavier, but it's not too bad, and I have weighed it, and it weighs 3.6 kilograms. So yeah, it's a chunky little thing, but it is quite small and discreet. So yeah, that's the box. So if I turn it to the side, I can start trying to explain what we've got on here. We're side on now, and the kill switch, which is a magnet, basically goes in there, so it just loops on there. And I've seen one video on this, and it's by a young Chinese boy. I'll give him his due. He's probably, when he made the video, probably 10 or 11 years old. He made a cracking little video of setting this up on his paddleboard. Very excellent English. But one thing, constructive criticism, what he did, he attached the kill switch to this, and he attached it to his SUP board, to his board. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong. Okay, so if the board wobbles and this pulls, it will cut out the battery. That's the idea of it. It will cut the juice to the fin, so the board should stop moving. But if you fell out, and that's attached to the board or the kayak in my case, and it was on maximum speed and doing 4.5 miles per hour, that is not necessarily going to cut out. That literally, the time you fall in and manage to muck around with your remote to switch it off, your kayak or your board could be literally 200-300 meters away from you. Yeah. So what I've done, I've ordered a leash, actually a paddleboard leash, but I'm going to attach it to myself. And if this is in the back of the kayak, this will be attached to the leash. So if I fall overboard, that happens, and then it cuts it dead. So just a slight criticism of what he put in the video. There's no point in keeping this live on the paddleboard and you're in the water. Yeah, that's attached to you, so it pulls off. Right, so anyway, back to the battery. So that's the kill switch. On-off switch is down here. Now if you press in, you're powering on. Obviously that has to be attached, and that means it's in its powered on state. There's no indication. On his video it did show an orange light, and there's nothing. But so another thing that I'm not struggling with, but I don't really like about it, is you're wondering whether it's on or off. I mean, if I do that and let it out. I feel like it's coming further out, and I think it's on, type of thing. I'm sure I'll get used to it, but and obviously you don't want to try it out, get it in the water, you're outside it, hit the remote to try it, and your kayak shoots off. But so it's basically press in, that is in, and that will now be in its on state, ready for the use the remote control if the fin's attached, obviously. Press it again, it's out. Let's just remove the kill switch for a minute. Okay, this is the battery charging port. Apparently, allegedly, these are all waterproof. So that's where your charger screws on so you can charge up. Always make sure you replace the cap before once you've charged it, because like I said, you need to keep it watertight. Now the bottom one is for the fin. So if I undo that, again, you want to do that up. We're not in use, it's waterproof. And what you've got all these pins here and these pins here. If you just put it in gently and turn it around, I'm at a funny angle here, if you excuse me. Turn it around, eventually it'll locate there, it's gone in. And turn it up, tighten it quite firmly. That's it, it's in now. Tighten it quite firmly. I wouldn't over tighten it because these back nuts going into the battery box tend to turn themselves, and so that's it. I don't know if shall I run it? Okay, so I'm going to put the emergency switch in. I think that's off. No, that's off. That's on. I'll just give it one quick second. There you go. Obviously it's out of water. So there's reverse, switch off. D, switch off. S, sport mode, switch off. That's it. So as I said, there's only the 3 settings. And like I said, if I do run it very quickly and it's on, and the kill switch I've just knocked the kill switch out. Killed it. See? So that I really do suggest that's attached to your person, not attached to your kayak or your SUP. While I've brought in the camera close, once again I'll just show you the remote control. You've got a Velcro strap for your wrist, that's self-explanatory, and there you go. So showing you it again. So I've disconnected it now, but basically that's your off switch, reverse. Got absolutely no idea what speed it goes in reverse, and it'll be different per craft, but obviously that again, that'll be tested out on the water. Drive, if you press that, that's one speed, and they are saying that is approximately 3 miles per hour. You have to go into drive first before you go into sport or S. Yeah, so you would literally switch to drive, it will pick up speed to whatever drive is, maximum of 3 miles an hour, and then you can go into sport. I don't believe you can go down, but again, that will be tested. I think you then have to go to off and then restart the process. While we're on the subject of the remote control, one thing, I tried looking online, and I did read through the instructions, and the battery is not replaceable. Well, certainly not by me. I mean, it's watertight and it's not replaceable, but the manufacturers state that the battery has got roughly a life of 2 years, and then this has to be discarded and a new one purchased. Couldn't see where I could get a new one last night, but I thought, why am I overthinking it? I've only just bought the thing. Let's start to enjoy it first. So yes, there's your remote control. Like I said, the battery box is quite compact, relatively heavy, 3.6 kilograms, but what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to now get the dimensions, length and width, etc. So from here to there, that's 20, well, right, if I go right to the end of the plugs, it's 23 centimetres, which is approximately 9 inches in English, in old money. Height-wise, 5.5 inches, so about 13.5 centimetres. And depth, going right to the hinges, is 20 centimetres, which is 8 inches. So it's not big, it's quite compact. It does come with a carry strap, which I'll show you in a minute, so you can sort of hook that on there and whack it over your shoulder. You haven't got to walk along like that with it in your hand. As I said, make sure you do up the ports correctly. I put the little bits back in the top. So a little bit more about the battery life, or their record, what they're saying at the moment. The battery is good for 600 cycles of charge and discharge with emergency stop switch. I don't know what that means, but the battery is good for 600 cycles of charge and discharge. Battery capacity is 288 watts per hour. The voltage is 25.6, so yeah, we generally sort of say 24 volts. So it would be two sort of car batteries. Continuous current, maximum 18 amp. The charge voltage is 29.4 amp. Charge time from 0, they are saying, is 4 hours. I charged it yesterday and it must have been 3/4 or at least more charged, because it only took half hour to go to maximum. So I can't really say a lot more about that at the moment. Yeah, other than that, there's not a lot more I can say about it at the moment. This is literally just out of the box. I don't like calling these a review. I can't review something I've not used. And as I said at the start, I get a little bit peeved when I'm watching these out of the unboxing. Why do you need to take the box off? This, I've put a picture up of the box. The boxes are absolutely fine. They've got all pictures on them and quite a lot of the details that are in the instruction manual. So maybe some people just read that rather than read, the instruction manual. But the point is, it's the functionality that, and this sort of side of the boxing, at least this can be carted around and knocked about a little bit, because it's in a reasonable enough type of box to protect it from damage. Yeah, if it's going to get damaged, it's going to get damaged on the water. Battery's got a strap. It's not got any sort of cover box, but yeah. So it looks a quality bit of kit, but only time will tell with that. Another thing that comes in the package is this quite nice cargo bag. It opens up, and apparently, I've not tried it yet, the battery fits inside it, and it's got 4 hooks, and it's got these triangular mounting pads. They're stick on. They're no good for my kayak being inflatable, but obviously not. This in the kit, you've got as I said, the American skeg adapter and the slot-in box adapter. You haven't got a strap that goes right around a hard shell kayak, but these would go on a hard shell kayak and probably hold it. I don't know whether that's going to be any use to me, but it's there, so I will try it out. And here is what I mentioned earlier. Here is the actual quite robust, large strap that you can put through the handles to carry the battery box around. So yeah, there it is. I think that's all that's in the package. If there is anything else, I'll update on the next video. So why did I pick this model other than price? Right, I paid, at the time making this video, and I've only just received it, I paid £420 for this. I bought it through a company in Wales. It was on eBay at $449 and it had a best offer, so that's what I went in at, and I got it. So I paid $420. There is others, I'm not going to name them, but I was looking at one other one, and it looked quite good. The specifications, the manufacturer specifications on battery life on this are, I really, really don't think we'll get these. The runtime on full speed, so that's on S, which is sport, 1.5 to 2 hours at full speed. And it says 4.5 to 5 hours at half speed in D, which is just basically drive. Well, that's yet to be proven, but we always know what they say. I mean, what conditions they're testing them in or whatever. But a lot of the others I was looking at were literally, especially with the reviews were saying it only run for an hour, and I don't know how people are using them or what they're using them for or the conditions, but they didn't seem to have much of a runtime. Some had variable speeds that I would have liked. One of them I really liked, but it just looks so bulky. Now, what you've got to take into consideration is I don't want to run this, I'm not using this all the time. I'm not motorising my kayak. I want to paddle. But if my knees are a problem, or I'm getting particularly tired on a long run on the way back, or the wind's hitting me hard, I will want to use this as a sort of get out of jail card, put it on and just sort of assist me, even if I have to paddle with it. So when this dies, then it becomes a burden. It can become a burden. Now, as I said, this one I don't see as it's going to be too bad. Again, I'll let you know. But this other one was very, very circular, very round. The actual mass of it was quite big. And I thought, well, when that battery runs out, and people were saying it had a battery life around about an hour. So you'd literally be using it in stops and starts. So I just liked the design of this, I suppose, really. It's got a year warranty. Unfortunately, the manufacturers can't be contacted. I've been on their website. It's just a website with pictures of their goods. So you do have to go back through your dealer, whoever you bought it from. And, fingers crossed I don't have to use him. But if I do, then the proof will be in the pudding and how good that is as well. But I like the design and the sleekness. And if it comes anywhere near those times, it'll be an absolutely wonderful piece of kit. I can't imagine something running for 5 hours. But that's yet to be tested. So, I've taken a bit of a chance, Chinese model, but that's the reasoning for going for this. I just like the design. The battery's more powerful than some of the others, and hopefully it'll do the job for me. So, yes. So what I'm hoping to do today is Tuesday. I work shift work, so I'm working right to the weekend, and I have got some hospital appointments on my days off. So what I'm hoping to do, weather permitting, is get out on the water in part of the River Medway, which I normally go out and sort of test kayaks and bits and bobs. There's a nice run, wide bit, where I can get it up to full speed, because the problem is that the particular stretch I'm going on, there could be quite a lot of anglers on the banks. So what I don't want to be doing, if I get up to 5 mile an hour, running along towards lines, looking at all this and talking over a video, reviewing. So there's a nice long stretch through Tunbridge, which is a very wide part where I can get it out at full power. Doubt I'll see any fishermen. And then I want to take it on this Tunbridge circuit, try it on the lower speed, try it in reverse. And just give it a first impressions on the water run out. So hopefully that'll be round about a week's time, just over a week's time. So if you're interested in that, please keep an eye out for the video. I mean, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, then you will actually get a notification of any uploads I'm putting up. I mean, I would be interested if there's any other EFIN manufacturers out there or suppliers. If you'd like to send me one to try out, because what I'm planning on doing, I've got my Story Ranger, which is a hybrid kayak. That'll be the one I'll be taking this out on first and doing the tests, and eventually I'll get it on my Blue Wave glider, which is my two-person one, which is a lot faster and a lot sleeker in design, and it'd be very interesting to see how this performs on that. So 2 different types of kayak to try it out on. Will it'd be interesting to see the differing results. It will be faster on the glider, but it'd be very interesting. So I'm looking forward to playing around with this, and I'm looking forward to actually, maybe on some of my trips, when I'm just, the problem with the trips are that sometimes I get carried away and I'm doing 6 or 7 miles one way, baking hot day. I turn around, I have a little rest, I turn around, and then within 2 or 3 miles coming back, I'm just starting to feel fatigued. That's when I could really do with a kick from something like this. So that's what swung it for me. I want to paddle, but if I'm feeling tired, I would like to be able to switch a motor on and just amble along a bit and, just rest, just steer it with the paddle. Right, the last thing we're going to talk about is pros and cons I can see even without using it. The first pro is obviously I will have powered assistance. So yes, with my bad knees, if my back starts to hurt or I just get completely fatigued, I will be able to switch on and let the motor do the work. The cons on that is that for some reason, I was on shift work. I was doing 12-hour shifts, and I was looking at these the other night, and doing this Google search, and I really do research things. And I got two different manufacturers mixed up. For some reason, I thought this had variable speed. I thought it had 4 speeds. So I was just a tad disappointed when it turned up and I found out I've only got 2, because I did want this trolling. I wanted this 1.5 mile an hour type thing, but I've got it now, and that's it. One of the cons, definitely. So the pros is obviously be able to switch this on and to get power assist, even if I still carry on paddling. One of the cons is a lot of the rivers that I go on, certainly at this time of year, are absolutely full of weed. If it's full of weed, then you just can't switch the thing on. So in all fairness, if I go out and I'm looking at the river and I start to see weed straight away, I know sections of most of the rivers I go on, I don't even think I'll even bother taking it. I think it can just stay in the car. I'll just put the normal skeg on, because other than that, you're just attaching something that will gather weed as it is. Even if it's not switched on, it will just cling to it and weigh it down. So you may as well just go to your traditional skeg, which is a lot slimmer, and put that on. So yeah, weed's going to be a big contender. Obviously a con is that you have to set all this up. You can't really set it up in water. That's got to be put on. But yeah, and maybe the battery laid in. If you're putting the craft in first, then you've got to actually lean down. But I know all that. These are the pros and cons. I've had to do this before I actually purchased the thing. I had to weigh up whether it is going to be of value to me. With bad knees, if I have to kneel down on the jetty or the pontoon to put these things in, what am I benefiting? But that's what I've had to do. But only time will tell with that. So really, I can't see many more cons at the moment. I think it will just become apparent as we go. And then if I do 2 or 3 videos on this, it gives you, the viewer, if you're even considering something like this, it gives you all the options. You can then decide, and it doesn't have to be this model necessarily. It can just be about using an E-fin, So yeah, we'll see how we go. So literally, that's it for now. Can't go any further with it. And yes, I'll be doing a series of videos following up on this. May even put it into a playlist just on E-fins rather than this particular E-fin, so everybody can sort of have a look. And you might be looking at me filming this one and have your eye on another one, but me testing it out and connecting it up, you might go, oh, that's too much. That's too much to be bothered with. Too much faff. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be this model. It's about E-fins and are they worth having, and certainly at the price they are, So yeah, so we'll get a little series of videos going. Right, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and like I said earlier, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you like the video, please give it the thumbs up, and hopefully see you on the next one. Bye for now.